What's going on, guys? My name is Clint. I'm bringing you Skateboard Solutions, and today I'm going to go over 10 fundamentals of skateboarding. This is a good video for if you're brand new, have never skateboarded in your life, or if you're teaching a kid how to skateboard. You know, the way that I'm building this video is how I would teach my 3-year-old how to skateboard, which I am. So, the first thing, before you even step on the board, before you even purchase your board, I think a good suggestion for you would be to buy used trucks. And the reason that I suggest this is because brand new trucks, the bushings aren't worn in yet. So with that, if you land on one side, the board will not go straight. It'll continue to curve and go different ways. And if you're just learning, there's going to be enough barriers without having that problem. So get used trucks. It'll help you a ton, I promise. Second, practice within your comfort zone. Part of skateboarding is pushing that comfort zone, but if you're brand new, just be careful about how much you're pushing it. If it makes you feel more comfortable, I think a good thing to consider is wearing protective equipment, knee pads, elbow pads, helmet. That way, if you do fall, it's not as big of a deal, and that gives you a new sense of confidence. It might help you to push yourself a little bit more and learn a little faster if you psychologically know that, you know, falling won't hurt as bad. So wear protective equipment, and also bring a skate tool. That way, if your bolts get loose, or if your board's leaning to one side, you can correct it with your skate tool. Third, figuring out your stance. So if you've never ridden a skateboard or a board before, you might not know which stance that you ride, regular or goofy. Regular is with your left foot forward, and goofy is with your right foot forward. So a good way to figure this out quick is go to your kitchen with some socks on and run and slide through the kitchen. And whichever foot you're leading with is the foot that you'll be leading with when you're skateboarding. So that's how you can figure out your stance quick. So those are the 3 tips before we get started. I just pulled up to the skate park, and so I'm going to get to the other fundamentals. So let's get to it. First, we're going to start by standing on our board. I like to have my back foot just over the back bolts and my front foot a little bit below the farthest bolts on the top. When you're standing, try to make sure your hips are within your feet. It's easier to slip out if they go over your feet. Once you feel comfortable standing, the next step is going to be riding down a slant. And you could just put your board at the top of a slant and just step on and try to ride down the slant. When riding down the slant, try to absorb the transition with your knees when you get to the bottom. The next step is going to be to balance on your front foot. Just ride and take your back foot off of the board as you try to ride. This will help you when you start learning how to push. Next, we're going to learn how to push the skateboard with our back foot. I like my front foot diagonal right in front of the bolts, and when you're pushing, make sure that you're facing where you're trying to go, and your shoulders should be open and pointed towards where you're trying to go. Another thing to consider is some people like pushing with their front foot. I used to do that, but now I push with my back foot because it takes less time to get my back foot onto the board and it doesn't throw me off balance. Next thing we're going to learn is throwing down the board to gain momentum. If you're goofy, you're going to be throwing with your right hand. If you're regular, you're going to be throwing with your left hand. And really just what to focus on is making sure that when your front foot lands over the front bolts. If your front foot lands too far forward, you will land on your nose and fall forward. This next step is going to be walking on our board, and this is really just to help you learn how to shift your weight without the board slipping out. This will help tremendously when you're learning how to do kick turns on transition and just navigating around the skate park. A reminder that when you're doing this, make sure that you're keeping your hips within your feet. For the kick turn, we are going to be riding up a transition, and when you get to the top, you're going to look back and swing your shoulders in the area in the way that you want to go. When you're doing this, make sure that you have most of your weight on your back foot. Your front foot is just going to be holding that weight there and preventing you from slipping out. Now that you know how to kick turn, it's going to be easier for you to shift your weight under your back foot to do a manual, and this is particularly helpful when you're trying to learn how to ride off curbs. So when you're approaching the curb, you need to be able to manual at least a length of a skateboard and just enough to get those back wheels off the curb. Now we're going to be learning how to pump, and this is another way that we can gain momentum when we're riding on transition. So notice when I go up the transition at the bottom, I bend my knees and straighten them out, and that's really what gives us that push and that momentum. Again, just bending those knees and then extending them when we get to the bottom. Learning how to pump will be particularly useful when learning how to do stalls on coping and transition, and we can cover trick tips based on those later on. Last trick I'm going to cover in this video is the power slide. And so really the key to power sliding is being light-footed, making sure that you're leaning into that back foot and using your heel to kind of push it along. Notice how my body is kind of backwards. I'm using both of my feet to push the board forward. That's it, guys. Thank you for watching my channel, and I hope it was helpful. If you appreciated the content, please support this page by subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you can be alerted when I make new content. If you like it, please hit the thumbs up, and I hope you have a good day.